Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating intersection of biology, physics, and computer science. We're looking at how computer scientists are basically stealing blueprints straight from the natural world to solve some of the most insanely complex mathematical puzzles out there. We're going to get up close and personal with metaheuristics. These are advanced algorithms that literally mimic nature's perfection. Let's get right into it.
So, what do Darwinian evolution, trying to pack a backpack, and a blacksmith cooling a piece of metal have in common? It sounds like the setup to a weird joke, right? But to understand how artificial intelligence manages to find the absolute best solution out of billions or even trillions of choices, we actually have to look at how biology, practical physics, and a simple travel dilemma share the exact same underlying logic. Because as you'll see, the algorithms powering modern problem solving aren't just born from pure math. They're basically adapted from the universe itself. Section 1. Escaping the local trap.
Okay, so let's start with the fundamental problem of computational search. Picture this. You're trying to climb to the very highest peak of a massive mountain range, but you're caught in this super thick, blinding fog. Literally, all you can do is feel the ground right around your feet and take a step upwards. This is exactly how basic local search algorithms, like hill climbing, actually work. They just make these tiny incremental changes until they hit a spot where they can't take another upward step. The fatal flaw here? They almost always get trapped on a tiny, small peak, what mathematicians call a local maximum. Since they only experience what's right in front of them, they're completely clueless that a massive, true peak, the global maximum, is just waiting out of sight right across the valley. To traverse this bumpy, complex mathematical landscape and actually find that true global optimum, standard search techniques totally fail. They're way too computationally expensive, and honestly, they just get stuck way too easily. Instead, we use what are called metaheuristics. These are the real heroes of our story. They're advanced, higher-level algorithms that are specifically designed to bounce us out of those local traps so the search can keep moving. And the absolute most powerful metaheuristics? They're the ones that pull their inspiration directly from the physical and biological world around us.
Section 2. Evolution as an algorithm.
Our very first, incredibly successful metaheuristic is ripped straight from the pages of biological history. We're talking about evolutionary algorithms. Philosophically based on Darwin's whole survival of the fittest concept, evolutionary algorithms, and specifically genetic algorithms, treat potential mathematical solutions just like living organisms that are fighting to survive. Instead of just crunching numbers for one single answer, the computer generates an entire population of candidate solutions. It then forces them to evolve over generations, constantly refining them until only the absolute best, highly optimized survivor is left standing. To actually do this inside a computer, we borrow terminology straight from biology class. We have to separate the genotype from the phenotype. The genotype is basically the raw, computationally manipulatable code. Often, it's really just a long string of binary, ones and zeros. The phenotype, on the other hand, is how that code actually manifests as a real practical solution in the real world. The algorithm is just rapidly encoding and decoding between these two to figure out how fit a solution really is.
Section 3. Breeding the best solutions.
So how do we actually breed these digital organisms so they get smarter over time? Like, how do you program natural selection? Well, the algorithm loops continuously through 4 precise stages. First up, population initialization. This is randomly spawning a super diverse group of potential solutions to make sure we have a wide genetic base. Second, fitness calculation, scoring each and every solution to see exactly how well it solves our problem. Third is crossover and mutation. This is where we take the fittest individuals from the group and mix their digital DNA to create even stronger offspring. And finally, survivor selection, ruthlessly culling the weak so that only the absolute best traits get passed to the next generation. And this loop just keeps going, generation after generation, until the ultimate optimal design emerges. This brilliantly shows those genetic operators in action right at the code level. During crossover, the algorithm literally slices the code of 2 successful parents and splices them together. The hope is to combine the very best traits of both into a superior offspring. Meanwhile, we have mutation, which randomly flips a bit, say spontaneously changing a 2 to a 6. And let me tell you, mutation is absolutely critical here. It unpredictably injects brand new diversity right into the gene pool. This ensures our population doesn't just stagnate and get hopelessly stuck on one of those foggy local mountain peaks we talked about earlier.
Section 4. Packing the perfect knapsack.
Let's ground all this heavy biology jargon with a super relatable, tangible puzzle so we can see exactly how a genetic algorithm handles it. This brings us to a classic combinatorial optimization dilemma, the famous knapsack problem.
It asks a simple but mathematically grueling question. Given a set of items, where each has a specific weight and a specific dollar value, how do you maximize the total value of your packed bag without snapping the straps and exceeding a strict weight limit? Imagine you've got a backpack that maxes out at exactly 15 kilograms, and scattered all around it are a bunch of different blocks, all with varying weights and dollar values. Which combination are you going to choose? Doing this by hand for 3 or 4 items? Super easy. But what if you have thousands of items? At that point, it becomes computationally impossible for a standard computer to brute force it and check every single combination before the end of time. So how does a genetic algorithm decide which specific combination gives you the highest profit?
We bridge that gap between the physical and digital worlds by completely translating our packing choices into genetic code. Each potential item is treated as a single gene. We assign a 1 if the item goes in the bag and a 0 if it gets left behind on the floor. A full string of these 1s and 0s, which represents one complete attempt at packing the bag, is our chromosome. And the fitness score? That's simply the total dollar value of the packed bag, assuming it hasn't exceeded that 15-kilogram limit. If the bag is too heavy, the straps break, its fitness immediately plummets to 0, and that specific genetic sequence just doesn't survive.
Here, we can see that translation perfectly laid out in practice. We've got items A, B, C, and D. Right below them is the binary string 1001. This simply translates to picking item A, leaving B and C behind, and picking item D. This real-world phenotype, our packed bag, is seamlessly encoded right into a genotype. Now, the computer can easily cross over and mutate thousands of these strings across thousands of generations. The weak bags die off, the profitable bags breed, and they do this until the ultimate, most profitable bag configuration evolves entirely naturally.
Section 5. The physics of annealing. Now, let's shift gears a bit to our next concept to see how this builds on the idea of nature as the ultimate engineer. We're moving from biological genetics into the raw, intense world of thermodynamics and metallurgy. This introduces us to a fascinating meta-heuristic called simulated annealing. In the real world, true physical annealing is a thermal process used by blacksmiths. They heat a metal in a bath all the way up to its melting point. At this extreme temperature, the atoms are loaded with energy and bouncing around wildly. Then, they cool that heat bath incredibly slowly. This careful, slow cooling allows those wild atoms to eventually arrange themselves into a highly structured crystalline lattice, which is literally the absolute lowest, most stable, and strongest energy state possible, known as the ground state. So, computer scientists looked at this physical phenomenon and brilliantly realized, wait a minute, this is just another optimization algorithm waiting to be harvested. They took this thermodynamic process and mapped it directly onto computer code. In this analogy, the metal itself represents our problem. The energy state of the metal, that's our mathematical cost function, basically the error rate we're desperately trying to minimize. The stable ground state of the cooled metal represents our global optimal solution. The temperature becomes a mathematical control parameter in the code, and the physical cooling process acts as the iterative improvement of the algorithm over time. To actually make this work digitally, the algorithm uses Boltzmann's probability distribution. Now, don't let the complex math scare you off. The core concept is actually quite beautiful. It essentially dictates that at a high temperature, the system has a surprisingly high probability of accepting a worse solution. You might be wondering, why on earth would an algorithm deliberately choose a path that is worse? Well, think of it like shaking a tray of uneven sand. You really have to shake it violently and bounce everything around to get all the pebbles to eventually settle into the absolute lowest gaps. By occasionally jumping to a worse state, the algorithm can actually climb down from a local maximum, explore the broader landscape, and avoid getting hopelessly trapped. So, the absolutely crucial point in all of this is the cooling schedule. When the mathematical temperature is high, the algorithm bounces around wildly, just exploring the entire landscape. But as we slowly decrease that mathematical temperature, the probability of accepting worse solutions drops. The system begins to calm down and settle. If you cool the virtual metal way too fast, a process called rapid quenching, the whole search fails, snapping into a brittle, suboptimal state. But careful, slow cooling, that forces the algorithm to settle perfectly into the true global minimum, exactly like atoms forming a flawless, unbreakable crystal. Section 6. Nature's ultimate optimization blueprints. What we've really seen today is that humanity's absolute most cutting-edge computational tools are deeply,
deeply indebted to the natural world. Whether we're mimicking the genetic survival of the fittest to pack a virtual knapsack, or simulating the thermodynamic cooling of steel to find the lowest possible energy state, we are constantly leveraging the universe's oldest rules to solve our newest problems. Which leaves us with a truly profound question. As we keep pushing the boundaries of AI and computational optimization, are we actually inventing these brilliant algorithms, or are we simply discovering the universe's hidden blueprints for perfection? Next time you use a navigation app to optimize a driving route, or you rely on AI to schedule your tasks, ask yourself, is it really artificial intelligence, or is it just nature's deepest physical laws cleverly disguised as code? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity to go look for the natural math hidden all around us.